Yeah, the wheel's just spinning. Welcome to the Predictive Playbook. I am John Ryan, your host, and I'm pleased to be having a special guest on the show. Is a regular member of our team. He appears sometimes 2 or 3 times on the show, and that is my good friend and pal Albert of Analytics Capper, which you can find him over at Twitter using the @ and Analytics Capper. And be sure to follow him and give him a lot of likes. I promise you'll be glad you did. So how's it going today, Albert?
I'm doing good. It's Friday. It's a big weekend. A lot of novice bettors bet last weekend because of the Super Bowl. But these are the weekends where, the professionals and the handicappers and the ones who are really in the weeds kind of take over. This weekend you have college basketball, NBA, hockey, and then I also cap golf and soccer as well. So it's a full slate for me. It's actually a busier weekend this weekend as opposed to last weekend.
Well, I have to ask, what did you think of Cantley's 62 yesterday at Pebble?
He's following that up with a 1 over right now. I think he's through 13 or 14 holes. So PB, Pebble Beach, is the easier of the two courses. He's playing the harder one today. He should be somewhere on the leaderboard, top 10, top 5. So he's definitely going to be in contention. He was the odds-on favorite to win heading into the tournament. The surprising name right now is Jordan Spieth. He's leading another tournament back-to-back weeks. We'll see how he does, over the weekend.
And that's a great story too. I'm glad to see that he is rounding into the form that we always expected from him, and seeing the last couple of years and his play and his struggles. I always felt that he was just too analytical at the driving range, and there was too much attention to detail, and he just forgot to just go out and play like you and I would play.
Yeah, at the end of the day, sports, golf is a very technical sport, right? You need to have the right swing, you need to have the right mindset. But with that being said, it's still a feel sport. You have to know how to feel, how to hit certain shots, certain distances, certain spins. And you're right, like he just went way too analytical. I think Bryson is also taking a step back from that as well, and learning to let the game come to him.
Yeah, and that's good to see too, because a few years ago he wasn't too likable. But now he's becoming likable.
Yeah.
So, and then of course the Daytona 500, and I'm not a NASCAR expert by any stretch of the imagination, but I do watch that race, and I will bet that race. And I also like the Talladega races. I like the big tracks. The strategy fascinates me, the drafting, the speed that they're going at, and bumper to bumper. I mean, it truly is bumper to bumper. I know I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that at 60 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Let alone at 205, and it really is pretty cool. So I guess we'll dive into the NBA here. And we're coming off a terrible day yesterday, but, and it happens. And, I've been doing this 26 years, and we had a real nice run for the show. 17 shows, only 3 days. We're losing cards. 2 of those days were 2-2 records, so we just lost the VIG. But the betting gods kind of handed it to us last night with a 1-6 gem. But it doesn't take anything away from how we go about making these picks as a team. It's one day at a time, and you string it together. You don't ever look at a Super Bowl, for example, and make that your all-in bet, because that's not how it works. And there are going to be days like yesterday, unfortunately, and that's just part of it. And that's the one thing I can promise you will always happen. It's not going to happen back-to-back days, hopefully, but we will, over 365 days, anybody will have that 0 for 4, 0 for 5, and nothing goes right. I mean, just the bad beats this week too. We didn't have any of those yesterday, but the Blues, and then there was a couple NBA games where it should have easily gone under, but then it went into overtime. Then you had the Indiana game in college basketball at Rutgers. They led for 18 seconds and took it into overtime, and then it was 2 overtimes, and then suddenly a game that should have gone under went over. You know, it's being the dog or the fire hydrant, as I love to say. So let's move over to the NBA card here, Albert. I'm really anxious to see who you like tonight.
Yeah, so the first game I wanted to highlight is the Washington Wizards against the Knicks. They're playing at home in Washington. It's a big money line flip here. Washington opened as a one point favorite. Now they're a 3-point dog. A lot of that is reaction to news. Bradley Beal is out. I've mentioned this before in the past. I don't like handicapping or betting because of news, whether it's COVID related or injury related. But this one is an interesting one because I would have expected the Knicks to be favored coming in. The fact that the books set it as Wizards kind of makes me like the Wizards' value, even without Bradley Beal. Obviously, we all know Russell Westbrook and his struggles when he plays. I don't think they haven't won in like 20 games when he plays. But it has to end sometime. I'm not saying pick the Wizards, but this is definitely a in-game opportunity where I see the Knicks getting up big and the Wizards at home being able to make it somewhat of a game at the end. So if you could get this number at more than 2 possessions, so at +7, +7.5, I would take the Wizards.
That's good. That's good. Now I'm seeing the total at 218, 219, and I'm not sure if this is actually running live, but it will be now. Yeah, it is. It was live. So, do you have any thought on the total here?
Yeah,
so
I think
the Wizards.
Yeah, that's also a reaction to Bradley Beal's injury or Bradley Beal resting tonight. He is a 30-point scorer, so it does make sense that the total did go down. I would probably lean the under. Again, I'm not a big totals guy. I think you and Ira are better at that than I am. I would, if you wanted action on this game and you're able to do in-game live betting, I would try to get the Wizards at 7 or above, but that's it.
Yeah, I like that idea too, and I think anything on the total in the first quarter, both teams get out to a fast start, which is reasonable. It's more likely they get out to a fast start than a slow one. You might be able to get the under in game at like 229.5, and I emphasize the half point because it seems to me that in my experience doing this now, the books will do that a lot, and you'll get the -105. Juice instead of the -120.
Yep.
So even if you miss an in-game bet, don't pay the -120. Even if the number looks like it's a gift from God, don't do it. It's better to be patient, wait for another opportunity, and try as much as possible to get that -105 or even the +100. You'll see that too upon occasion.
All right, the second game I wanted to get into is the Pelicans Mavericks. This one most likely is a strong lean for the Mavericks, if you want to write that down. The Mavericks are actually 1-9 against the spread in the last 10 games. They're 0-7 at home during the same time frame. They've been horrible against the spread, even though they've won the last 3 straight up. The Pelicans are doing much better. We knew they were a talented team. It was a mashup team with Bledsoe coming in with a brand new coach. I think they're finally getting some cohesion and camaraderie after 3 months. So they are trending up, and they have a good closing lineup featuring Brandon Ingram. So right now it looks like the Pelicans are trending up and the Mavs are, just treading water, even though they have won 3 in a row. The numbers here suggest that the Mavericks should take care of business. But I do want to caution they are 1-9 against the spread in the last 10. With that being said, I think the Mavericks are a strong play for me. Anything for you, John?
I like that side too. I think the market has now fully discounted Dallas during this rather surprising losing streak. To be honest, I didn't see that coming. But now I think if you do play Dallas tonight, you're getting it cheap, and that's what you try to do. You try to get bullish on the teams that are about to revert back to their mean instead of regressing. So in other words, Dallas is done regressing now, and they are likely to outperform their season averages, for example. They'll score more points than the season average. They'll have more assists, and everything will be more positive. And I think this is a great spot for that to happen. The Pelicans are 15th in scoring, 15th in scoring margin, and Dallas is minus 2.3, which ranks 22nd. Assist to turnover ratio, which is a big metric in my machine learning models. Let's see, Pelicans are 18th. That's a mediocre 1.662. But Dallas, despite losing, is still a very good ball handling team. And that is what you want. You want to back teams that have more variables that you can trust than not trust. So their assist to turnover ratio is ninth best in the league at 1.866. And they're going up against a New Orleans defense that ranks 28th in the league, allowing 2.00 assists to turnover ratio. So that metric right there bodes very, very well for Dallas tonight. And I like this play a lot.
All right, great. And the final game I wanted to get into for tonight's NBA slate is the Orlando Magic and the Sacramento Kings. The Kings are coming off a disappointing performance against the 76ers. I like the Kings going into that game. They were 5-point dogs. They ended up losing by 8. It was actually a really tough loss because there were a couple wide open threes to kind of backdoor and cover at the end from De'Aaron Fox and Buddy Hield. With that being said, the Magic here are coming off a loss last night, second night of a back-to-back. They just got manhandled by Golden State in the second half last night. I see the same thing with the Kings here and their pace and athleticism. So I do like the Kings. It opened up at 7.5. It is a lot of points. It's right now at 8.5. I think it's going to continue to climb. I do like the Kings here.
Yeah, I mean, the way I look at Orlando now, they're not the Orlando Magic. They're the Orlando MASH unit, referring to the MASH MASH unit in the Army. Just a massive amount of injuries, and even the most brilliant coach in the world doesn't have enough players to do the combinations to try different rotations. And you saw that last night in Golden State, which Albert pointed out very well. And I agree with him. I think this is one of those where you don't try to catch a falling knife. And you don't try to do that at home. You don't try to do it to even impress someone. Because I think if you said to Albert and I that you bet Orlando and you actually won, and we're talking tomorrow, we might not still think it was a good bet. Something happened that you won it, and that's great. But I think all the betting intelligence, if you will, is pointing towards the Sacramento Kings here to bounce back from that loss to the Sixers, which I did get lucky on. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Those threes at the end were pretty critical. And the line was what, 5.5? Yeah, it was 5.5. They won by 8.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, so that completes some of the games that I've been looking at for tonight's NBA. I'm actually very interested in your college basketball, John.
Well, this is a very exciting weekend for a guy like me that likes the Big Ten and the Big East and the SEC. And I'm going to pull up tomorrow's games here on my spreadsheets. It's a game tonight, actually. Illinois and Nebraska. I had put this out on as a free pick over at sportsmemo.com and Wager Talk. And, Illinois is the third best team, according to my work, in the nation. Not in the Big Ten, just in the nation. And
wow.
That would obviously come behind Baylor and Gonzaga. And they have a real good chance to win the Big Ten. And if they do, they could be a number 1 seed in the tournament. So they're not going to look beyond Nebraska here, which has lost 8 in a row and just not playing well. I don't want to ever suggest that a team mails it in. As an athlete, especially at the Division I level, you go out and give it your all every single time you have a chance, because that's how you got to that level in the first place. But even a tenth of a second slower in basketball or football or ice hockey, a tenth of a second less effort can be the difference between being competitive and getting blown out. And I think this has got blowout written all over it. I thought the line last night was going to come out at around 15.5. I think it's trading at 14 now. Let's see what it is here.
14 and a half, yeah.
Yep, 14.5. So, yeah, I don't often lay double digits, but I think in this case, I don't see any reason why Illinois wouldn't win by more than 20. So that's one game I have. You agree with that?
I like that. I mean, I'm always gonna, when it comes to big spreads like that, it's hard to really predict and handicap. So I guess I have a question for you. When it's a 14, 15 point spread, why do you prefer, and there's no wrong answer, why do you prefer the full game over, let's say, first half?
It honestly could be because of the 26 years I've been doing it, because the first halves have now been something relatively new. I guess they've been around for better part of 10 years, at least in football. And I never really, got interested in it, I guess. And, it's talking to guys like you and having these shows where my interest has gone to it, and I have begun to build halftime or first half systems. So with that said, let's go to this Illinois game, and I'll pull up the see if we do have any first halves here. There it is. And first half, fuck, there, that's good. Now, unfortunately, there's one that supports Nebraska. So it's playing on underdogs of 6 to 11 points using the first half line after 3 straight losses of double digits or more, facing an opponent after scoring 75 points 3 consecutive games. Now that is what you call a contrarian system. That is pure and simple contrarian. So I don't necessarily know if I like that one. It's hit 64% winners going back 20 years. So there's got to be at least 20 years of halftime numbers. So that proves right there that I just never really took an interest in the halftime until recently.
Yeah, I was just curious because a lot of people I've seen, for example, on social media, if it's a big favorite, let's say the Lakers are favored by 12, instead of doing the 12, they do Lakers 6.5 first half. I never understood why. I was just wondering if there's certain numbers and metrics that back it up for them.
Yeah, and I guess this is a good reason why I don't, because a lot of these teams where you have a mismatch of double digits, the first half can be sluggish. They don't necessarily come flying out of the gate, especially in a road game. I don't know how this Illinois game is going to go, but you would think that Illinois would be paying attention with everything they have to lose if they would lose this game.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if the halftime line is, it's probably -8. Maybe it could be even -8.5 for the first half for Illinois. I think there's a lot more risk to that, to me, playing a really weak team like Nebraska than there is taking the game. Because the second half, they get their act together, they get yelled at by the coach a little bit, they wake up, and then they come out and smoke them.
Yeah.
So that's probably the reason why inherently I play the full game. I guess I don't feel like I'm smart enough to be able to divide a game up into halves. I'd rather do the in game, Albert. That's the
100%
prefer in game over. Yep.
And I mean, you're betting on 19, 20-year-old kids. Who knows how they're going to start a game out? So I completely agree with you. First halves are a little more, much higher variance, I can imagine, in college basketball versus the NBA. But it's something that, I've been looking into, I'm interested in, but there hasn't been a real statistical angle. It's really more of, okay, if this team should win by 13, then they should win by 7 at halftime. And it doesn't work out like that every time. Is there a specific...
Yep.
Yeah, is there another game or two that you're looking at?
On Saturday, and this is a game that I rarely watch the games, Albert. I do so much work during the week and weekends that, I spend time doing other things, and I do like watching the condensed versions of the games. No commercials, no commentary, just I can get my own insights from the game without being swayed by anything the announcers would say. But the one I'm looking at here is Villanova and Creighton, and these are two teams that could be number one seeds in their own right come the tournament time. They could be a Final Four. They could meet in the Final Four. They're two of the best ball handling teams in the nation. They're two of the most efficient offenses in the nation. Creighton actually has a better defense than Villanova, but at the end of the day, when I looked at this whole thing, I think Nova it'll probably be like a pick'em game, I'm guessing, and I think Nova wins by more than 5 and possibly double digits. Their offense is just relentless, and Jay Wright has a history of I don't want to say like laying in the weeds and then you play somebody really strong, but it is when they step up in competition and they are playing a ranked team that I think you see Jay Wright's teams perennially play their best games, and I'm willing to take that risk for tomorrow with a play on Villanova. And the one thing that you already know, but they don't play at a fast pace, but they're the number 2 scoring offense in the nation, or number 12, I guess. Let me just bring that up real quick, just to make sure. They are. Well, actually, they're number 26. So that's a good thing I looked it up, because I would have been rather foolish to say they're number 2. But still, 79.1 points per game at a snail's pace. So the efficiencies of their offense are like off the charts. And now I know why I said number 2. They're number 2 in the nation in assist-to-turnover ratio, 1.768 at the college level. That's phenomenal. I can't even remember if a team in the last 5 years finished a season at that level. So despite Gillespie's troubles with turnovers in the loss to St. John's where he had 6, this is a team that is going to be very resilient. And I think you're going to see one of the best games of the year at Creighton. You on board with me?
I like it, man. I like it. You are the college basketball expert. All your insights. Yeah, all your insights that we talk about, I identify and study and look into myself. So I appreciate that. There is one game that I think I like for tonight, looking at the board. It's a small school, but I do like Albany tonight at home against Massachusetts Low. They're 4.5 point dogs now. I think they're going to continue to climb. It'll probably be 5, maybe even 6 at game time or tip off. So I do like Albany. Make that a pick for our show.
Sure. Let me write that down, and I guess we have to write down Villanova too before I forget it. And in the NBA, you had Washington Wizards.
I like Wizards.
Dallas Mavericks.
Yeah, I like Wizards in an in-game bet. I don't like them pre-flop.
Okay, yep.
Mavericks, I do like Mavericks, and I do like the Kings, Mavs and Kings.
Yep. So that's good. That's a good. It's 4 pre-flop games and then Washington in-game.
Correct. Yeah, and no hockey for me tonight. There's only 2 games tonight: Boston against the Rangers and St. Louis against the Coyotes. This is the 5th game, I believe, that the Blues and Coyotes are playing back to back, just like a playoff situation. The Coyotes have won the last 3 as a dog, and St. Louis is only a minus 130 today. It's tough to take St. Louis. I feel like that number is trying to get you to take St. Louis, but the value is, again, all on the Coyotes. So I'm going to lay off. We'll see how the games go at the first period. I like to look at the number of shots. I like to look at possession and kind of jump in by the second period.
Sounds cool. Sounds very cool. And what I wanted to do is, for everybody to test the in-game for the NBA. is I wanted to take the highest total. Where are we here? There we are. And the highest total is, there's 228. Well, it's 224 now. 232, 233. So we're going to take the Milwaukee-Utah game. So the reason I'm picking the highest number is that implies the greatest volatility. The higher expected total, it correlates very well. So with that said, there's no difference between a total of 232 or 233. I'm just isolating it to one game for us to all watch and see how many times there is a 10 or more point run. There might be none. There could be 2 or 3. But let's say, for example, I don't really have a preference here, but let's say, for example, we like Utah. So every time Milwaukee rips off 10 in a row or more, we're going to bet the live in-game and see how we do. We can actually do it on both teams and test it to see how it would have come out. And that also opens up the possibility of middling all the bets, if you think about it. So you would be, conceptually, you would be getting, let's see, Utah is 2.5 pre-flop here. So a 10-point run early in the game, Utah would probably flip to plus 3.5. So you would have that. Then let's say some action goes on and they're going back and forth, and then all of a sudden Utah rips off 10, 11 points in a row. Then you're getting Milwaukee possibly as a dog. So, that opens up all kinds of possibilities. But in these big swings, you got to be contrarian to them.
For sure. And
that's the best way to trade it.
And there's going to be a lot of swings in that game. Both Drew Holiday and Mike Conley are out, the only two that really play defense on either team, outside of Rudy Gobert. So I do see a lot of scoring runs and a lot of ups and downs and ebbs and flows in that game. I don't have an official play, but I actually lean the Bucks, and I'm not a big Bucks backer in general, but I kind of like the Bucks tonight. But that's all I have, John. I do have to run if you want to close out the show.
No, that's fine. This has been great. So our final recommended plays here for the show is Washington in the in-game, as Albert described, if that opportunity even presents itself. Dallas, Mavericks, Villanova Wildcats tomorrow, Albany in college basketball tonight, and then the Sacramento Kings in the NBA tonight. And that's about it. Is that right, Albert? That covers everything you think on the plays, right?
That's it.
Well, everybody have a great weekend. We appreciate all the likes that you can give us on the YouTube channel. By the way, make sure if you search it, use Predictive Playbook, and it'll come up. If you use John Ryan Sports for some reason, it doesn't work. I thought search engines were better than this. But Predictive Playbook, subscribe, like, and we really appreciate it very much. So have yourself a good weekend. And for myself and Albert, may all the wins be yours.
Thanks, guys.